I awoke the next morning with what felt like a lizard in my throat. Mai was up already, shuffling through her school bag with an enigmatic grin. First day of school. You're finally awake! Her voice sliced through the air like a knife and I winced. She was definitely a morning person. It's time for the first day of school. Aren't you excited? I can't wait to see what's gonna happen. What do you mean? Is something special happening today? Something strange always happens on the first day of school, especially to someone like you. She winked.
What?
Someone like me? You know what I mean. She smiled and started messing with a pile of papers on her desk. Shaking my head, I got out of bed and pulled my uniform out of my closet. My palms sweat as I held the gold vest and blue jacket. Was it really possible for things to be different here than they were at home? What if the problem wasn't actually the school? I shook the thoughts out of my head and changed into my uniform. Oh! What is it? You look so cute!
Really?
Heat crept up my neck.
Yeah.
Completely! Your hair matches your uniform so well. You look like a flower blooming straight out of the ground. Thank you. Water stung the back of my eyes and I turned to start packing my backpack. Why was I getting worked up over something as little as this? I must have gotten less sleep than I thought. Is something wrong? No, nothing's wrong. I'm just happy. How dumb was that? I started crying at the first sign of someone being nice to me. I took a deep breath to steady my nerves. What an oddly menacing thud. All the air left my lungs as something like horse hooves slammed against my back. Ugh. You'll do just fine. Don't worry. This is gonna be awesome. I stiffly peered over my shoulder. That was you?
What?
Mai stood behind me, her hand raised. Somehow she had the strength of a bodybuilder. Nothing. I was just about to zip my bag when I spotted the book Satch gave me lying on my nightstand. The Princess Betrothed. He said that if I ever needed to be transported somewhere far away, I could take it with me. It was pretty good so far. Maybe it'd be smart to bring it along, just in case I had no one to talk to between class periods. Would I need it for my first day of class? Yeah, take it. I put it into my already overfull bag, biting my lip. Never hurt to be prepared, right? You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Stick with me and you'll be fine. Mai opened the door and together we stepped into the hallway, merging into a steady flow of chittering girls and fruit-flavored perfume. Oh my! I didn't know we lived on the same floor. No way, really? That's awesome. Now we'll be able to catch up. Whatever happened between you and... The river of girls shifted as we headed down the stairs. Suddenly I found myself surrounded by a bunch of people I didn't know.
What a jerk.
Mai's exclamations faded into the buzz of voices in the air. Oh no. What would I do if we got separated? Anxiously, I searched the crowd of girls for Mai, but I couldn't find her. Everyone was dressed in the same uniform. It was difficult to tell everyone apart, and being so short really didn't help the situation. As we turned the last corner down the stairwell, I saw a flash of red hair a little ways in front of me. Mai? I reached between girls and tapped her on the shoulder. Huh? Oh, who are you? It makes me think of most popular girls in school. Who the fuck are you? The girl's eyes flashed, almost like a jolt of electricity shot through them. I'm sorry, I thought you were someone else. She said nothing and turned away. Before I knew it, I stood outside of Primrose House, watching the flow of girls disperse across campus. Mai was nowhere to be seen. I couldn't even hear her chirpy voice. Oh man. I took a deep breath, biting my lip. This wasn't a big deal. I could go to class alone. But I didn't even know where the building was. I reached into my backpack and dragged out my class schedule. Homeroom 206 Poppy Hall? Which one was Poppy Hall again? Weren't the classrooms on the other side of campus? I picked a direction and began to walk, trying to ignore my rising panic at the thought of arriving late for the first day of class. As a third year where no one knew me, all the people staring. Hey, you okay? You look a little lost. Someone called out to me and I turned around, almost jumping for joy. When I froze. A Normal Boots jacket. He was part of the Normal Boots Club. I could practically feel my tongue swelling in my mouth. If this was a Normal Boots Club member, I had to make a good impression. He was one of the founders, right? Then he must be JonTron. Yes? I'm new. I don't know where Poppy Hall is. You a freshman? No problem. My class is in Poppy Hall. I'll walk you there.
Really?
That'd be wonderful, thank you. Was this really happening? He began walking toward a large brick building in an enthusiastic manner, pumping his arms up and down like he was in some kind of show tune. I fell into step beside him. I didn't notice it when Mai pointed him out to me yesterday, but Jon Shane had big brown eyes and a warm-looking face. He was basically a human puppy. I glanced up at him from the corner of my eye. A bird! A bird on his shoulder! Birds always made me uncomfortable. Something about the ease with which they could poke out someone's eyes. Something wrong? Why'd you stop? No, nothing's wrong. He followed my gaze to the bird on his shoulder.
Hey!
Oh, this is Jacques. Isn't he cute? Nice to meet you. It spoke? Yeah. He put his hand to his shoulder, and Jacques jumped into his palm. Jacques is a robot bird, see? Hello. Jacques, I can't do the Jacques voice, I'm sorry. Jacques' eyes gleamed a dangerous red when he spoke, but nothing else suggested he wasn't a normal bird. In fact, if I hadn't known better, I would have said the red in his eyes was painted on. That's amazing. Jacques twitched his head to the side, examining me in return. The more he looked at me, the less afraid I was. What are you looking at? What? Nothing, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, Jacques can be a little sassy. Who were you calling sassy? I'm not the sassy one. I don't forget to feed you. Jacques, that was one time. I was alone and starving in the frozen tundra. I just remembered what episode that was. I was alone and starving in the frozen tundra of this empty world, loveless, afraid. Ignore him. I've been bringing him with me to the drama club and he's taken a little too well to it. I see how it is. Shut me out like I have nothing to add to the conversation. Jacques retook his place on Jon's shoulder, this time facing away from us as if miffed. We resumed our walk towards Poppy Hall. I'm Jon Shane, by the way. Call me John. Hana, nice to meet you.
Hana.
That's a cute name. What? Thank you. So, how long have you had Jacques? Since middle school. We've been together for 4 years now, ain't that right? I'm not listening. Yeah, well. I love him to death. Don't know what I'd do without him. Seemed like life would be a lot easier without him, but who was I to say? We arrived at the brick building. A white sign surrounded by poppies declared it to be, unsurprisingly, Poppy Hall. Which room are you in? Room 206.
Really?
Seriously? Yes? That's my homeroom. We're in the same class. Jon laughed and clasped me on the shoulder. Wonderful. I guess I'll be seeing more of you then, right?
Yeah.
Right. Together we entered Poppy Hall. Poppy Hall was lined with fluorescent lights and Asagao blue lockers. The lack of students milling around in the hallway indicated we were a bit late. We ran up the stairs and made it into the classroom just as the bell rang. My heart caught in my throat. Thankfully, the teacher hadn't come yet. Instead, students clumped into tight pods and milled around the classroom, catching up on vacation news.
Jon.
Thank you so much for showing me to class, Jon.
See you later.
No problem. See you around. He waved and disappeared into the wriggling mass of students. I glanced around the room, looking for an empty seat.
Hana.
Mai peeled herself out from between a cuddling couple. Was that Jon Shane? Were you just talking to Jon Shane? Yeah. Mai's eyes widened, and I couldn't help feeling a little smug. I realized I didn't know the way to class after you and I got separated, and he offered to walk me. Mai emitted a highly pressurized squeal. Jon Shane walked you to class? Oh my gosh, you have to tell me everything. She grabbed me by the wrist and pulled me to an empty desk in the back corner of the room, right next to the window. I saved you a seat. I slid in and took off my backpack, hooking it to the side of my desk. I was a little bit worried the books inside were too heavy for the bag to handle, but so far it held up well. Sorry we got separated, by the way. It can get a little chaotic sometimes. So tell me, what happened? What did he say? What did he smell like? Does he have peach fuzz? Is it rough? Wait, what? These are very important questions I'm asking. You need to answer them. Was his hair super silky or did it have the roughness of a dog's coat? Before I could answer, the door to the front of the room slid open and a tall woman strolled in. The class went quiet and obediently slid into their seats. My heart beat furiously, blood rushing through my ears.
Class.
Good morning, class. The teacher's melodious voice swam through the room, calming the buzzing students back from break. My shoulders relaxed and my fear ebbed away. I'm your teacher, Shizuka Wakahisa. I'm really bad at Japanese names. You can call me Miss Shizuka. The emphasis she placed on the word led me to believe that calling her Mrs. wasn't a mistake she would take lightly. Some of you might have noticed that we have a new student this semester. A hail of murmurs passed through the class. Some people glanced at me. Nope, there was the fear again. Would you like to come up and introduce yourself? I nodded, stood, and slowly walked to the front of the room, counting my steps to make sure I wouldn't fall. I faced the class, took a deep breath to introduce myself, and noticed a familiar face in the crowd. There was Jon, sitting along with two other boys wearing Normal Boots Club jackets. One of the boys, the tallest one, was staring at me, the barest of frowns on his face. Something about him seemed really familiar. Wait, he was PBG, wasn't he? The other founder of the Normal Boots Club? Suddenly, all the strength left my knees. What should I do? Why was he frowning? Was it possible that I already made a bad impression on him? You've got to be kidding me. If he didn't like me, what did that mean about everyone else? Wouldn't they follow his lead? I swallowed. The faces of the class began to congeal, forming one giant blob. You moved from Amoririsu, right? I nodded and swallowed again. Then, like a beacon of light, I noticed Mai smiling and giving me a thumbs up. That's right. What would Mai do in this situation?
Yes, I've just moved here. My name is Hana Mizuno. I transferred from Amiririsu Public High School. I'm really excited to be here. I hope you'll all take good care of me from now on.
I bowed my head to the class and they clapped politely. When I looked up, PBG wasn't frowning, but he still seemed oddly confused. Maybe he always looked like that. Thank you. You may be seated. I returned to my seat, heaving a small sigh. The hardest part of the day was over. Shizuka began to talk about standard procedure for the semester, rules for the classes, when homework was due, and that sort of thing. It was all very similar to my old school, and I spaced out in spite of myself. A brief flicker of movement caught my eye. PBG again. I glanced at him, and his head snapped back to the blackboard. What was his problem? Class continued on like that until finally the bell rang and it was time for lunch. Mai stretched her arms over her head and yawned. Man, I hate the first day of class. It's always so boring. Weren't you looking forward to it this morning? Something about exciting things happening? Well, yeah, but it already did. You met Jon Shane, didn't you? Now I have nothing left to look forward to. And I was hoping to see Jared before class, too. She slouched and fell across the front of my desk. Seemed like this would be happening a lot. Is Jared really that hot? Mai's head snapped back up, her eyes flashing. What did you say? If you stare directly at him for too long, your nose will melt off. I've seen it happen. What? Anyway, let's head for lunch. I'm super hungry. Oh. I looked at my backpack. It held up well throughout the class, but I was worried that if I didn't take some stuff out now, I might do some permanent damage to it, especially with Satch's book in there. I couldn't exactly afford a new backpack. I need to put something in my locker first. But if we don't go now, they'll run out of sesame seed buns. Oh. That's okay. I'll just go on ahead. Come find me, okay? All right. I was so lucky to have someone like her as my roommate. Quick as I could, I went to my locker and shoved the book inside. As good a book it was, I was infinitely happier that I had Mai around, so I didn't have to read it. Without her, who knew what I would do with myself, especially with PBG staring at me like that. Maybe I could ask her what was up with him when I met her at the cafeteria? It might just be the way he was. Cheered, I headed for the cafeteria. I can't fucking read anymore, guys. I carried my melon bread through the minefield of people, searching for a familiar sight of Mai's red hair. Where is she? I couldn't see her anywhere, and there were almost no empty seats. All around me, students circled each other, laughing and joking, sharing bites of food and splitting the costs for sodas. Suddenly, I felt very obvious and very alone. Isn't there anywhere I can sit? Man, I know this feeling all too well, let me tell you. Just then, I spotted a table at the front of the room. A lone boy sat at it, stabbing his spaghetti with the vigor of a Roman general. He was having a hard time with it. I moved closer to him, working up the courage to ask to sit with him. Well, no wonder. He was eating his spaghetti with a spoon. Wait a second. This guy was in my class, wasn't he? I saw him that morning at the front of the room. And he was wearing a jacket just like the Normal Boots Club. But different. A gold and gray jacket with an 8-bit block on the front. Was he a member of another club? Or maybe he was friends with them?
Hey!
Hey, what? Hana? Oh, Mai. Mai appeared between me and the boy, who glanced up at us before returning to his spaghetti. Thank goodness I found you. I saved a table for you in the back. Oh. I looked at the boy and then back at Mai. Come on. She grabbed my shoulder rather forcefully and pushed me to the back of the room. Hey, what's wrong? You are so lucky I got here when I did. That kid is Brutal Moose. His real name's Ian. He's from the Hidden Block Club. The Hidden Block Club? Yeah, the rival club of normal boots. He's really weird. I mean, she looked around her to make sure no one else was listening, but we were completely alone in our little corner of the cafeteria. He speaks in Comic Sans. Whoa. Yeah, it'd be better to stay away from him, especially since you've already gotten to know some of the normal boots guys. What are you talking about? I only just met Jon today. Yeah, right. I saw the way PBG was eyeing you. He totally likes you.
Really?
Is that what you think it was? Either Mai was blind or she had a serious case of wishful thinking. Oh, totally. It was so cute. Just like my favorite manga. You meet in high school, fall in love, and then go off and fight aliens together. I don't think that's going to happen. Have some faith in yourself. That's totally what's happening. So, now that you're in good with PBG, can you introduce me to Jared? Oh, was that what she was getting at? A hot flash of doubt seized me. Was it possible that Mai only liked me because she thought I knew the normal boots guys? That couldn't be the case, though. She was so nice. Still, looking at her shining and eager face, I couldn't talk myself out of the idea. I actually thought PBG didn't like me.
What?
Why would you think that?
Well...
He was glaring at me. Man, you just don't understand. It's a love triangle. A love triangle. Wait, a triangle now? I can see it. Stars practically erupted from her eyes. PBG, I can't. But Hana, I love you. But my maidenhood. Where are you going with this? I slammed my fork onto the table. Mai looked pleased with herself. Okay, I'm just kidding. You're really cute when you blush. You almost match your hair. That's not fair at all. I beg to differ. Still, I searched my mind, eager to change the subject. That was an impressive scenario.
What?
No, it wasn't. I just made it up on the spot. Mai laughed nervously. Oh, so that girl who was talking to me when we got separated? Mai told the story of her past friendship with this girl, like they were eternal arch nemesis. Apparently, they had some bad blood. Nemesis? Whatever. I nodded, choosing to take the time to relax. Before I knew it, we finished eating. We got up, tossed our trays together. As I headed toward the door, though, Mai hesitated. Hey, I forgot something back at the dorm. Oh, need help? No, I'm totally okay. I'm just gonna go get it. I'll see you later, though, right?
See you later.
Okay, see you in class. I waved and Mai sprinted off in the direction of the rooms. All alone, again, I crossed my arms and headed back to Poppy Hall. Large groups of 7 or 8 people were lying out in the sun, playing catch and eating lunch on the lawn. It looked like fun to have so many friends like that. I smiled. Maybe this new school really would be better than my last. Without students inside of it, Poppy Hall looked a bit like an abandoned hospital. My footsteps echoed as I climbed the stairs to the 4th floor. With a sigh, I opened my locker and pulled out the book Satch gave me. It was a good thing I brought it after all. I stepped into the classroom and saw a flash of movement by the window. A boy sat on the windowsill, and he jerked up when I came in. He was silhouetted by the afternoon sunshine, so I couldn't quite tell who he was. Hello, I'm sorry, did I bother you? The boy stood and shook his head, then crossed to a desk on the opposite side of the room. As he passed, I was able to see him clearly. Another Normal Boots jacket. This guy, he was Shane from Normal Boots Club. How on earth did this keep happening to me? Shane sat down at his desk, fidgeted with his hands a little, then turned to look at me. You're the new girl? I nodded. My name is Hana. It's nice to meet you. He nodded. Shane. Silence filled the space between us. Panic built up inside me. This was my chance to get in with the Normal Boots Club, and I was blowing it. I walked to my desk and sat down, setting the book on top of it. Shane looked at me, unsmiling. You're part of the Normal Boots Club? Yes, I am. Why? He spoke as if it were a challenge, almost glaring at me. Oh, I just saw your jackets, so... I trailed off. The jackets are really cool.
Okay.
Yes, they are. Silence again. He seemed skeptical, as if he expected me to crawl out of my skin to reveal myself to be a large amphibious reptile. I had to do something. Who knew when another chance like this would come? But Shane didn't seem friendly. In fact, he seemed downright suspicious. Surely he wasn't onto me already? Maybe it was better not to risk it? Nah, try talking to him. So you play games then? Shane looked over at me. I've always been interested in video games, but I didn't get to play them much growing up. They're really expensive. My dad couldn't afford them, but I used to go over to my friend's house to play there. Shane didn't respond. Now what? I was out of stuff to say. What did you play? What? Oh, Mario Kart. We'd go into battle mode on the triple deck. He would drive around by himself on the top level, and I'd try to booby trap the lowest level. There's a good spot next to the ramp. I'd wait there until my mom came racing down the ramp to find me, then smash her with a red shell. Shane's angry stare faded away. He was smiling, sort of. He made the whole room seem 10 shades brighter, or maybe I was more relaxed. Your mom must have been mad. She was, but she always let me do it, probably on purpose. Did your mom... A door slid open. Mimi and her friends, a couple of chattering girls, entered the classroom. They stopped and stared from me to Shane. It was clear that they thought they were interrupting something, even though we were sitting on opposite ends of the room. Sorry. No, it's fine. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't happy. They caught me talking to the Shane of the Normal Boots Club. The girls went to their desk and sat down. What were you... Shane was staring at me again, an odd, hurt look on his face. I immediately felt like I was caught doing something I wasn't supposed to. Did he know what I was trying to do? I mean, it wasn't like I didn't want to talk to him. He was an interesting guy. It's not like I only talked to him because he was in Normal Boots. But then he turned, pulled out a notebook and some pens, and scribbled away, thoroughly ignoring me. The air was stuffy. I tugged at the collar of my shirt, sweating. The girls kept looking at me over their shoulders as if they expected something. I smiled hesitantly at them. They smiled back and started a conversation amongst themselves. The atmosphere was broken. I heaved a sigh of relief. What was up with these Normal Boots guys? John was really nice when I spoke to him, but PBG and Shane seemed to hate me. They weren't anything but normal. I waited for Mai to come to class, desperately waiting, wanting to tell her what happened. But when the bell rang and Miss Shizuka started teaching, Mai still hadn't come. Whew, that was a mouthful. Class came and went, the bell rang, and I was alone. PBG stared at me the entirety of the class period, his face growing more and more menacing by the minute. How his face wasn't stuck in a perma-frown, I would never know. Shane and John didn't bother talking to me as they left the classroom and other students paired up around me. Hey, Mimi, would you like to engage in casual discourse this evening? I'm making her sound like fucking Deandra or whatever. Yeah, of course. Why are you talking like that? Okay. I stuffed my book into my backpack and headed to the dorm. With a sigh, I unlocked the door to my dorm room. As soon as I opened the door, I heard...
Hana! What?
Mai and I lay in a heap on the floor. I'm so glad you're back! She wrapped her arms around my head and nuzzled me. What are you doing? Come, look. She got off me and helped me to my feet. Without Mai's face filling my vision, I saw that something had changed. Oh my goodness. The dorm room looked nothing like what it had before. The posters and fairy lights were still up, but now the window had light pink curtains on it that cast a warm haze around the room. A brand new white carpet was on the floor. Pillows were piled high in a mountain on the top bunk of the bunk bed. Even our chairs had been replaced with new cushy leather ones. What happened here? Sorry I didn't tell you, but I wanted to surprise you. I thought this would come in yesterday, but it was delayed by a day. I wanted to set it up to be a big surprise. I'm still not done yet, though. She gestured to some small potted plants arranged in neat rows on her desk. Want to help?
Yeah.
Do I ever? We finished setting the room up, switching a few objects here and there in order to better facilitate the feng shui, which Mai told me, was excruciatingly important. She especially wanted to make sure our room was filled with reds and pinks and coupled items, though for what purpose I wasn't sure. We collapsed with a heavy sigh on the floor, then heaved great big yawns. It's not even the end of the day yet, and I'm so tired. Me too. Wait! She shot up suddenly with a jolt. We should get some ice cream!
Really?
Ice cream?
Yeah!
Something to celebrate being roommates. The ice cream here on campus is genuinely good, I promise.
I don't know.
And I'm paying. Well, if that's the case, you made an offer I can't refuse. Sweet, let's go. The school shop was in the side building off the cafeteria, packed with instant noodles and giant bottles of soda. Students wandered the aisles aimlessly, clearly here to spend more time than money. Mai paid the cashier and we grabbed our ice cream cones, mine the one covered in sprinkles. This is delicious.
Yeah.
Isn't it? We're lucky to have such good food on campus. This place would be awful if we didn't. I nodded and was about to respond when I noticed a commotion outside. Ooh, let's see what's going on. Mai grabbed my arm and dragged me outside. There, 3 boys wearing normal boots jackets were shouting at each other, each of their faces turning purple. This again?
What?
What are you talking about?
Mamma mia!
I'm clearly the one who possesses the proper masculine form. Yeah, right. I'm taller than you and more attractive to boot. Come on, guys. Can you not see these muscles? Nick pulled back the sleeve of his jacket and flexed his arm. These guys always go on about weird stuff like this. They're very energetic. Oh yeah? Josh got into the downward-facing dog yoga pose and grinned. Look at this butt. Just look at this. What I don't understand is why they don't just ask Jared. Oh yeah? Paul kneeled low to the ground and took off at a sprint, heading straight for us.
Yeah!
Check this out. He sprang into the air in a graceful ballerina's leap, spinning through the sky, and finally came straight for me? When I opened my eyes, I was sprawled flat on the ground, covered in dirt. Something cold and wet oozed into the top of my blouse. Hana, are you okay? I sat up. Chunks of ice cream fell from my blouse to my skirt. What happened? You ran into someone, you idiot. My uniform. It's ruined. For a few seconds, silence. Then snickers rippled around me like the whining of cicadas. My throat closed up, water stinging my eyes.
No.
Not this again. Not again. I stood up, prepared to walk away with dignity, when the entirety of the Normal Boots Club suddenly appeared in front of my face.
What's up?
What happened here? Seriously? Tears slid down my face. No, not here. I didn't want to cry in front of them.
Hey.
Hana, are you alright? I'm going home.
Hana.
It's fine. I just want to be alone for now. It took all of my will to not run back to the dorm. I immediately changed into my pajamas and climbed into bed, reaching for my stuffed rabbit. What am I gonna do if it ends up just like last time? Mr. Bunny stared at me with his big, lifeless eyes. I squished him to my chest, losing myself in his soft fur. The door opened with a soft click. Are you okay? I rolled over in bed to face the wall, pretending to be asleep. Mai stood in the center of the room for a while, looking at me. Finally, she sat down at her desk and began to work on something. The sound of her pencil scratching against the paper stilled my mind. I don't know how many hours passed, but eventually I fell asleep.